Well, from loan forgiveness to teacher apprenticeships, educators in North Dakota are doing everything they can to address the state's teacher shortage. Crystal Qual finds out how a school district's plan to stop the shortage is going.
Most of us were shuffled into schools 5 days a week throughout our school careers, but that's not the case for these White Shield students. Logan Adams, 7th grader and basketball player, began the 4-day experience with White Shield School in 2020.
I go to tournaments every weekend and I would be missing a day of school sometimes.
He says he's liked the change. Sunny Ortega, 7th grader, is on the same page.
I spend my Fridays sitting in my room, talking to my mom, playing around with my brother.
Besides the students, 7th grade teacher Shauna Knife says the flexibility helps the job not take such a heavy toll. Knife says before she used weekends to prep and plan.
To have a little more me time and self-care time as a teacher, which you need.
Superintendent Wayne Fox says they started taking this policy seriously, not only so students and parents could make other commitments, but for teacher retention as well. Fox says they were losing 3 or 4 teachers annually.
I think rural schools, need to do almost everything just to recruit teachers at this point.
Now, he says, the average is 1.
Teachers haven't complained about it. Students definitely haven't complained about it.
Fox says in the beginning, parents complained because of their work schedules, and says as a parent himself, he understood.
It has worked out very well, due to our Boys and Girls Club, due to our fitness, our community center.
He says the pay barely changed too because the teachers are hourly workers, and sometimes they stay long after students have left to prepare for the next day. In White Shield School, I'm Crystal Qual reporting for your news leader.
Now, the school is open on Warrior Days, which are scheduled a couple of Fridays a month for students to get extra help and for teachers to plan curriculum, and that is usually a half day.